I'm a few days shy of my 77th year trip around the sun. Uh, I came to Canada in 1973 uh, as a teacher. I taught art in junior high and high school in Winnipeg. I ended up in Victoria because this is where my wife always wanted to go eventually. She got tired of me going in circles around it. And when I was in Victoria, I got interested and involved in filmmaking there, acting as uh, basically a set decorator. Working with small productions, you can explore more than you can in larger productions. So I did a lot of small production work to build up my resume and experience. And then I ended up getting an opportunity to design sets for a TV show called The Hard Way. And I had a studio in Bluefin Bay where I designed and built sets, including this particular set. And we went down and got the first season in the bag, and it was pretty good. Then summer came, and they were planning a big premiere party for September. I was looking forward to that. Everything kind of ground to a halt on June 11th, 2013, when I got up in the morning. Our wife had headed off to work already, and I felt a little dizzy. And then I started feeling very strange things. And the odd thing about it was I said to myself, I think you're having a stroke. And I had no idea why I thought that, because when you hear these symptoms of stroke, you think of them as individual things happening in some sort of succession. And this sort of caught me completely surprised. I was in the process of getting dressed, and I thought to myself, well, I better get to a phone. So I headed down the hall, forgetting that there was a phone right in the bedroom. And that's the last thing I remember. And then I passed out. But before I passed out, I thought to myself, when she comes home, I'll just say to her, Elizabeth, I've had a stroke. And then she'll know what to do. Well, almost 8 hours passed until she finally came home from work and walked into the dining room from the front hall and found me on the floor. And somehow I knew she was there, even though I couldn't see or hear a lot. I couldn't see anything, could barely hear. And I said to her, Elizabeth, I have had a stroke. And I was very proud of myself. But what she heard, of course, was something like, and she said, Michael, I think you've had a stroke. Bingo. I remember waking up in an ambulance and somebody said, hey, Michael, hang in there, you're my miracle man. And I said, okay, and then I passed out again. Then there was a series of images of doctors in masks coming by saying stuff, but I had no idea really what they were saying. Then I woke up in my room and I looked to my right, and there was this male nurse. He had a sign on it. It said Angel. And I looked the other side, and there was a female nurse there with a sign saying Angela. And I said, oh, there really are angels. And I passed out again. And then the next thing I remember was a day later or something like that, my wife was in the hospital there and uh, and my son had come up from Victoria, and that's when the healing process sort of really began. And actually, when I look back on it, I'm very pleased with the progress, how quickly the progress happened. I would like to claim credit for that, but as you well know, every stroke is absolutely individual, depending on where it hits and how long it takes and all that sort of, all those variables come into play. I, I don't remember her name, but one of my rehab people was so wonderful. He'd say, Michael, walk, walk, walk. Yes, ma'am. Walk, walk, walk. And so uh, where we were in Nunes Bay, we were just across the road from the water, the Georgia Strait. And there was a little bay there, Bluefin Bay. And so I started figuring, well, if I can navigate little pebble and stone beaches that are tipped at an angle, that should be pretty good for my walking abilities. And so I started doing that a couple times a day, actually, and it really did help. And that's when I took my camera and started thinking, well, there are some neat things here which I think I can photograph. And then I came up with the idea, well, after looking at the landscapes that I was taking pictures of, I aimed the camera down in the water and saw some absolutely wonderful images. So I thought, I'm going to work on this. And that's when that first series came about with the through water imagery. Because when you point the camera at water, the angle of the sun, the angle of the camera to the water's rippling motions, its turbidity or clarity, it's a constantly shifting environment, and it produces such wonderfully mysterious and just wonderful alien environment, I guess you could say, because it's nothing that actually even exists, because it exists only for that split second when the water is the way it's moving. And I became very fascinated with that. And over the years, I worked on two projects, I guess, in my head that I had, all based on life in Bluefin Bay there. The other one was called Beach White, because of when you walk the beach, you see these little sparkles of white on the sand up along the edges. And what, of course, they are pieces of flotsam and jetsam from the water that have been bleached out, and they wash ashore, and they just sort of sparkle in the sand between the rocks. Some of them are little shells, some of them are little pieces of seaweed, some of them are plastic, but it's again a wonderful way of looking at life on the beach. And so that's what really got me back into the idea of I should just not worry too much about the deadlines and the ability to go out and push for work and all that sort of stuff, which I was having problems doing. It just didn't have the energy and the focus, I guess, didn't always stay there. So So I figured, well, I should go back to what my original training is, which was uh, visual arts, mostly two-dimensional. In fact, virtually all two-dimensional visual arts in the university. Uh, Although I was always very lucky, I guess, in that way, that even when I had my stroke in June, July and August came and went. I'd been on the beach. Uh, September was the premiere of the TV show, and that was my short-term goal, was be able to go to that premiere and participate and not have anybody know that I had a stroke. I don't know why that was important to me, but it was. I guess I was afraid people would say, "Oh, poor guy, he's had a stroke" or something like. I don't know. And I went. My wife and I went down, and I pulled it off. I guess. I mean, nobody noticed anything. Uh, I was close to retirement anyway. I'll just step away and enjoy my own art for its own sake. And so that's what I've done. I, if I have the energy, I go to it. If I run out of energy, I just take a break. And I don't have to worry about not having other people rely on me according to their schedules. My family have a long association with uh, things military and the war. My wife was a child of World War II in Europe. And that always, Remembrance Day always means a lot in our family. And I started thinking, that's one thing, the brain keeps working, even if the body doesn't want to. We should be doing something special for them. And since I'd come from my film background, I told a friend of mine at Christchurch Cathedral, we should maybe, let's get some pictures and throw them up on the tower of the cathedral and see what happens. And everybody got quite excited about that. And I met a fellow who works with the Museum of the 5th Scottish Regiment here in Victoria. And he was really excited about it. And so we put together what was basically a slideshow, I guess. But we got a hold of a fellow who had a huge projector that is a 10,000 watt projector that threw the image from a photograph of 5 by 7 inches up to 20 feet by 50 feet, and we put it on the side of the South Tower there. Wow, it was really quite impressive. And so we did that for 4 days last year. Yep, there always is art after stroke. If it's, you just find what you want to say and then find ways of saying it. And that's how we keep moving forward. It's called Coco Dance. And what it is, it's being an old movie buff. I have always been taken with Bergman's The Seventh Seal. which is a chess game between death and this knight who's back from the Crusades, living through the Black Death. And he plays chess with death, with the idea of trying to save a family from the Black Plague. And they meet other people. And the very last scene are these 7 people who he could not save dancing along the top of a mountain, top of a hill, strung out in a line, being led by death. And I thought, well, somehow that's quite appropriate for our situation in these days, where people oftentimes just are dance in the face of what a pandemic can do. This is a little piece right now, but it's a sketch. The one I'm going to make is going to, based on this, blown up to the figures about 4 or 5 feet tall each, and the whole floor to ceiling will be about 7 or 8 feet tall by about maybe 20 feet long. I guess what I would say is I never thought, well, I mean, okay, let's back up a bit. Am I happy that I had a stroke? No. Has it been useful in some ways? In a weird sort of way, yeah. But what it did not change the way I look at life. It did not change the way it did not change who I am. I mean, it changes this little spaceship that I'm traveling around in called Michael, but I guess outside of, occasionally I wish this pain would go away. I just get involved in my life, I guess. And one thing, when I'm in the act of creation, not the thinking about it, all this, but actually doing it, when I get down to actually doing it, I lose myself. And I'm no longer the guy who walks funny. I really don't exist. My hands move, my eyes move, I move whatever medium I'm working in around. And that, yeah, I don't know. Funny you should ask. Now I'm not sure how this is going to work. I had something all set up before things fell apart on me here, so we'll try it again. We've talked about the 12 days of Christmas. No, I don't know. Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you remember the song, maybe I'll stand up here. It'll be a little easier. On the first day of Christmas, the truth gave to me partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge. And anyway, then we have 3 French hens, 4 calling birds, 5 golden rings, with a bunch of silver in there too. Oh yeah, this one goes like this. 6 geese laying, they're all laying one big egg there. 7 swans are swimming. You got it? Yeah. 8 maids are milking. 9 ladies dancing. 10 lords are leaping. 'Get this wrong like this. There we go. 11 pipers piping. And 12 drummers drumming. And these were all sort of, again, built on the idea of my fascination with Celtic art and the whole idea that whenever I've seen this drawings from this particular song, illustrations, all very childlike, like it's a little bears and tears, and I felt it was beyond time for people to take into consideration that Christmas has become, in many ways, a world celebration, and we need to acknowledge that. And so you'll see all the first 6 are, it's kind of interesting. The first 6 are all birds. The second 6 are all people. And I wanted to be sure to incorporate all people in these drawings, not just the people that the original song came out of, which is Northern England. And it's become much more of a broader celebration of joy. And so that's what I do with them. There you go. I think I'm looking at my next big project with this sketch of Coco Dance. What I just hope to be able to do is keep trying to interpret what I see in the world that I feel is worth talking about, and do it as long as I can. So, yeah, are there days when you just sort of wish you didn't have to get out of bed? Yes. But when you do get up and get out of bed and find something to do, something that will give you some joy in life, take it. Don't wallow, I guess is what I would say. I don't know how, I mean, it's really not up to me to say anyway. I mean, advice is as good as the person who gives it, the person who takes it in and says, well, maybe not, but I guess that's what I would say. I mean, look at those aspects of your life that you still have, no matter how big or how small that is left. Find joy in that. One of my heroes is Ron Smith, who taught himself to move one finger. And with one finger, he typed a book about his experience. And in moving the one finger, he could eventually move one hand, both hands. And I have a autographed book of his where he has written a complete sentence out using his hand, which couldn't do anything at the beginning. And I think to myself, when I was going through it, I was deaf and blind. But now I see and I hear sometimes. Those people who work with us, especially in the hospital and in rehab, they really are angels, and they need to be acknowledged as such. Sometimes I didn't take their advice as well as I should have, and I pay for it now. But I also understand that it's not their fault if I chose not to listen to them. It was my fault. So I just would make sure that we all acknowledge these people who really are angels in many ways.